I just have to put a little aside in here because every time you say Berry White, I get so excited. That was like such a sought after strain for me.
It's not around anymore.
Yeah,
2018, right?
like
Yeah.
no, like I was seeking it out maybe 10 years ago,
Awesome.
right? Like I was like on the hunt because it's also aesthetically a lighter color. At least what was being cultivated in California was this lighter color to being almost white,
Oh,
right? It
wow.
was like so crystally and the chlorophyll was like low. I don't know. It was just like this whiter strain. And I was on this hard hunt at the time because I was looking for a rare albino nug. I was like, I've heard of these albino nugs. I really want to see one in person. They're not called albinos, they're called variegated, and some of them are white and some of them are green. And so I was on the hunt and I remember sneaking in to my first like California weed cup because you had to have a medical card and I was Canadian, so I didn't have one. So I had to sneak in and I spent the whole day going to every booth searching out this albino strain. Finally came across a berry white. I will say it was pale, very pale green, very trichome rich, milky. So I was like, this is close. This will do. But it tasted so fucking good. It wasn't a disappointment. It wasn't what I was looking for, but
I think that the light bleach nugs that I have not had the pleasure of smoking, because I hear that they're not very pleasurable to smoke. Every time that, like, it seems like it's more prevalent now that more people are using LEDs and they're able to bring the light like directly onto the canopy. Like you can't do that with something that with a lamp that's going to get hot, it will burn the plants. And so that top cola is just getting insane lumens just directly focused on it. And the pigments can't keep up. And it just, you get this light bleached nug. And I've seen people like cure them or freeze dry them. And it's kind of a novelty, and I want to smoke one, but you know that it's not good.
no, definitely the light bleaching. I remember like was it last year? This was pre AI on Instagram, but like that nug shot was going around of like a white cola and people were getting stoked and in the end it was because it was being basically burnt by the lumens from these lamps. But the first time I did see white flower was a outdoor grow and it was variegated, which happens in all kinds of plants. It basically just is like a mutation where the half of the plant doesn't get chlorophyll, so the leaves will be off colored or white. And you'll see like variegated monsteras and pothos, like
Yes,
houseplants.
yes.
You'll see variegated ones where the leaves are like a mix of green and white.
And there's always like a fat upcharge for those.
Yeah, because it is sort of like this mutation, but it's like it looks really cool. Now, the thing about variegated cannabis that I learned is that if the whole plant was white, it means it's not getting the nutrients it needs to grow. So they usually die out. So a healthy variegated plant has to have both green and white. Otherwise, it'll just die. So the one that was growing in the garden of a different farm I was working at actually had leaves that were half white, half green, perfectly split down the middle, and nugs, Ryan, nugs. Now, cannabis flower grows in a spiral up the stems. Okay. So if you ever look at a long stem and you swirl it, it literally, weed flowers grow in a spiral. And you could see nugs half and the spiral. Even some of the sugar leaves
Ooh,
were variegated white and green. Like it was so beautiful. But I'm working on a weed farm. So he's like, oh, check it out. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And he was like, yeah, take some nugs, but it's like fresh off the plant. So I grab a few nugs and I just like put them in my pocket, and then you
work for the next 13 hours and then you reach in your pocket and it's not a pretty nug anymore. Yeah. Oh,
also like they need to be cured, they need a little bit of love and attention. You can't just like smoke it straight out of the pocket. But I did dry them out a little. And of course I did try it. But yeah, it's just an interesting freak of nature. But then on the flip side, non-variegated, you can have really white milky trichomes, a really pale green flower, and it will give this white appearance, which is the berry white that I tried that time. And Cali was definitely in that family of plants. And I'm trying to remember now. I feel like the variegated plant didn't even really have a strong smell. They don't tend to thrive.
Right. And if you test it and it comes back at 8%, then, for the market, no one's really that excited about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if, like, as an ornamental, it's like, shit, that's what I want to grow in my garden. I don't need to smoke it.
So freaking pretty. I know that's the thing with seasonal work. How fun would it be to have cloned it and just kind of tried to hone in on it? But this plant just grew in the garden. It was like no explanation as to how it got variegated.
Wow. Yeah. You pop 10 million seeds and one pops up like that, and you either baby it or you go, oh, look at that. And then it's gone.